Today we start a new topic here. But before we start a new topic, I want to say a few things first. Now, one thing that I learned about math, it's not directly related to math. One thing that I learned about math is that when you go through this math learning journey, you actually become a lot better with your eyes. And of course, the eye-brain coordination. For example, okay, based on the materials that we just learned, I'm gonna ask you this. What does your brain tell you when you see something like this? Okay, ask yourself. In your mind right now, you look at this notation. Do you have a number that equals to this? What's the number? Okay, how many of you have 8 in your mind? Right? If you say, what is 8? How does that happen? So that would be a warning sign that your brain and your eye is a little bit disconnected, and you need to work on your connection. Okay, and how do you get 8? It's because, well, you have an exponent. First, you have to acknowledge that this is an exponent. Second, you have to understand the meaning of the numerator and denominator of the exponent, because it's a fraction. And if you understand what's going on, if you're familiar with what's going on, then you realize that this is a root. And you ask yourself a question: what is the fourth root of 16? Everybody? It is 2. Okay. And then we say, all right, so that's 2. And then the numerator is the power, right? Numerator is the power. So you raise the 2 to the power of 3, which is 8. Now, I understand that sometimes you are trying to, just cram everything in the day before, but I went through that stage. So that's why I'm sharing with you that please don't do it. If you do that, it's going to hurt yourself. Now, there's one thing you have to know as well, and that is our brain works the best when our brain recognizes a pattern. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us more powerful in terms of our cognitive ability compared to other species. All right, now, so that's what we did just recently. So what are we going to do now? Now, the topic, it's called polynomials. That's a topic. Poly means many, right? Poly. So we have binomial, trinomial, simply like terms. So we are going to deal with many terms that are supposed to add together. So a good example of a polynomial would be something like this. It might be like 4x to the 6th power minus 7x to the 5th power plus 10x to the 4th minus 3x cubed minus x squared plus 8x plus 7. See? There are many terms right there. Can we add them all together to combine them into a single term? Why not? What's the reason that they cannot combine together? They're different exponents, and there's a key word that we used to say back in Algebra 1. I'm not sure if you still retain that keyword. They are not like terms. Now, I realized that after years of observing students, teaching and tutoring kids, one thing that I realized that it's the idea of like terms may not be very clear. So at this moment, I want to make sure that it's now very clear what is and what is not like terms. Like terms, it's very simple. They have to look exactly the same. Okay, like for example, you can see here x to the 6th power and x to the 5th power. They are not exactly the same. So therefore, you cannot add them. But can you but what can we do with this? What if we have 3x to the fourth power minus 5x to the fourth power? What would that be? Negative 2x to the fourth power. Okay. So now we can subtract them together because they are like terms. And speaking of like terms, I also want to make sure that you understand the name of some components. What do we call those numbers? If you're in chemistry, you should know this word. Louder? Coefficient. Okay. Now, this is a word that I didn't know when I was taking math back in the days, because numbers are numbers, right? Do we have names for numbers? Yes, we do. Because coefficient, yes. Because they indicate how many items that we have. Okay. 5 apples. The 5 would be the coefficient. And that's why we cannot add apples and oranges together and say, oh, we have 5 apples and 3 oranges. You cannot say, oh, we have 8. What? 8 what? 10 of them together. So this is the same idea. It's just a little bit more abstract. Now, as I said earlier, it's about the training of your eyes. And this particular topic, it will really challenge your eyes. And your brain and your eyes better work cooperatively. Now, what if I show you something like this? What has changed? They're multiplying. How do you know they're multiplying? The parentheses. Now, can you see how they look quite similar to each other? Okay. And this is why your eyes are very important. You just look at them and say, oh, they're multiplying. How do you know? Oh, because you put the parentheses around next to each other. Okay. So in this case, what would be the answer? X to the what power? 8, because you have 4 x's right here and other 4 x's right here. So this is the challenge. Are you interpreting the notations properly? Do you know if they're adding, subtracting, multiplying? Do you know what's going to happen to the exponents? So we're going to use all these together, okay? And it's supposed to be easy, and it should be easy for most of you if you are keeping track of your thoughts. But as I said, if you don't understand these looks, if your eyes and your brain, it's not, they're not really working with each other, it may seem very hard. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the materials here.